Ballyhoo and welcome. The Passion Project continues. My name is Remedy Robinson, and this is an appreciation. This is an exploration of linguistics, language, and how to speak in the past and the future tenses, as framed by the peerless poetry of the modern-day master, Elvis Costello. Today's slow drag is with The Town Where Time Stood Still from a few places: Imperial Bedroom, Goodbye Cruel World, sans a verse or two, and ultimately released in 1995 on the Rykodisc reissue of Punch the Clock. The songwriting and everything else except for drum loop is credited to Elvis Costello. It's a piece where verbal gymnastics match wits with a keen plundering of mental gymnastics. The metaphors flow like the beer from the bottles that are left empty by the similes they represent. This has always been one of my favorite pieces. Not only is it a charming, toe-tapping minefield of imagery, desires, and contradictions, it's also an orphaned piece that seemed to have never found its rightful place. Can you imagine an Elvis Costello piece that is too Elvis Costello to be an Elvis Costello A or B side? That's what I call a piece that's worthy of a slow drag. I made my selection from the lonely hit Parade, in the town where time stood still. I was feeling very little pain until some joker played, almost persuaded. Now every girl I see looks so much prettier to me. My faithfulness is faded. This first verse reads like an excerpt from an exceptionally polished noir screenplay, and I've only recited half of it so far. Parade, persuaded, faded anchor these revealing lines without calling too much attention to themselves. The alliterative S sound that runs throughout helps create the right atmosphere for what is about to happen. He's made his selection from the lonely hit Parade, yet reports that some joker played almost persuaded. Self-sabotage, perhaps. A place with live music that is out of his control. Or someone else who knows what state of mind it will trigger for our protagonist. I love the not knowing part, the ability to ponder aimlessly. Almost Persuaded is a 1966 country song written by Cheryl and Sutton. It's about a woman with ruby lips, coal black hair, and soft hands who drives a man to almost kiss her while they're dancing close. It's only when he sees his wedding band reflected in her eyes that he realizes he was almost persuaded to let strange lips lead him on. The town where time stood still, as you can imagine, doesn't stand on such ceremonies, thankfully. It takes a much more nuanced approach to the art of seduction and betrayal. So now here is the entire first verse. I made my selection from the lonely hit Parade, in the town where time stood still. I was feeling very little pain until some joker played almost persuaded. Now every girl I see looks so much prettier to me. My faithfulness is faded, and their looks as sharp as daggers as a conversation heated, since the boys have all been laid off and they're walking round defeated in the town where time stood still. Prettier to me, heated, defeated, the rhymes meld with the alliteration, and the hits keep coming as the sentiment of almost persuaded gets turned on its head. The girls are prettier, his faithfulness fades, and everyone in the place seems to be thrown for some sort of loop. I'm not sure how the boys who've been laid off and are walking around defeated play into our landscape. I'd say, though, just like any good screenplay, it provides texture down to the smallest details of this place where time plays no part and every part at the same time. Somebody in charge must have pretended that the future's been suspended, and I say I don't want trouble but I find myself back in it, in the town where time stood still. I am the man of the minute. Pretended, suspended, all the while maintaining the alliterative F slither begun in the first verse. The second verse continues to play with time, both real and assumed. It's already established that time stands still, yet we're told it's all pretend. Then time reverses when he finds himself back in trouble before going on to declare himself the most popular, or, as the saying goes, the man of the minute. By the way, this verse is the one that was added between iterations. Teach me to say I love you. They'll teach you to say you will do. In the town where time stood still. Or maybe I can find a little girl to wind me up with all the usual skills. The end rhymes in this verse feel familiar, to be sure. You and do, still and skills. But don't let the ends distract from the beautiful alliteration that's still going on. Only now it's shifted from the S sound in previous verses to the tongue-ticking T sound. Teach and teach, time, two and two. It creates a melody all of its own. There are 370 words pulsing through this 3-minute and 32-second piece, and you can bet each syllable has been put down with great care. As an example of this, note how the use of the word wind is a stroke of complete genius. Wind, as in what you do to a watch to keep it running, is one meaning, of course. As well, there's the British expression meaning to annoy or to tease, to wind someone up. There's also the notion that the narrator is time himself and the girl is what keeps him going. There's nothing else to do but rearrange somebody's futures and trap your fingers in the till. The bar is full of girls just like the creature with the curse, and the food is just like cabaret or vice versa in the town where time stood still. There seems to be a couple of mondegrins of my own making, perhaps, in this fairly complicated verse. The first one, there's nothing else to do but rearrange somebody's features, makes sense, as reported in the Elvis Costello wiki lyric page, although I've always heard it as futures, rearrange somebody's future, keeping with the time theme. One depicts violence, while the other insinuates sabotage. Which one do you hear? Which one do you prefer? They both rhyme ever so slightly with curse and versa. The second instance is a small knit found in the line, and the food is just like cabaret. The Elvis Costello lyric sheet reads, and vice versa, while I hear or vice versa. Ultimately, they mean the same thing, although I seem to prefer the less additive and the more contradicted notion of or. The imagery of the creature with the curse and the cabaret that gets turned on its head with the mention of vice versa has always thrilled me. The reverse are cursed creatures that are just like girls and cabaret that's just like food, or the girls are like cabaret and the food is like the creature with the curse. This piece might be an orphan, but it certainly found a place in my heart. I love puzzling over these silly lines. Just as my heart went down sinking, I found the town was shrinking, and suddenly I saw her through the smoke and empty beers. In the town where time stood still, she might have well have waited years. Even though the place is supposed to stand still, the movement continues. Now the town is getting smaller. Then again, it's always been a small world. In direct opposition to being the man of the minute in the above verse, now the woman he sees through the smoke and empty beers might have well have waited years. Please allow me to point out once again how Mr. Costello has always been a wonderfully grammatically correct writer. Now I suppose we did some things we used to do, but no amount of darkness could ever turn her into you. This bridge is simply astounding for what it conveys and how few words it takes to do so. Sure, Mr. Costello is famous for his poetic loquaciousness. That doesn't negate, however, his equally impressive word economy, and this is an excellent case in point. Taking advantage of pronouns, the narrator states, "We did some things," meaning him and another woman, that "we used to do," meaning him and the woman who goes on to be the you in the next line when he confesses, "But no amount of darkness could ever turn her into you." Moreover, the first line seems innocent enough. It seems to be referring to only one other person, which makes it even more of a gut punch when you realize there's been interference. I can't tell if that second line is romantic or manipulative, or if there is barely a difference between the two. And so I woke up in a town where time stood still, with a headache and a heartache and a handful of pills, a welcome mat, a scandal rag, and unpaid bills. The hard H sounds found in headache, heartache, and handful wrap around the end rhymes of still, pills, and bills beautifully. The vignette of a handful of pills, a welcome mat, a scandal rag, and unpaid bills are more examples of how this piece reads like a screenplay. Likewise, we are treated to more word economy. With her head inside her handbag, the sign says, "Please wait to be seated. I only wanted a cup of coffee. I know you can't have your cake and eat it in the town where time stood still." It might be a hand, but I've always heard it as head that's inside of her handbag, but I could be wrong. Either way, there's something not quite right going on. She might be cradling a gun or trying to discreetly throw up in it. As I may have mentioned before in my slow drags, restaurants in general, and waitresses in particular, infuse many of Mr. Costello's songs. There's Possession, Shoes Without Heels, the music video for 45, and the most overt of all, The Beguiling, My Most Beautiful Mistake. Just to name a few. As a touring musician, I can only imagine how many "Please wait to be seated" signs he stood in front of by the early 1990s, when this piece started to take form. Knowing how you can't have it both ways, it seems our hero has lowered his expectations to just a cup of coffee. Did you hear the news today? It's all bad. Did I tell you how I left her so sad, with a headache and a heartache and an hour or two to kill? I only wish we were together in the town where time stood still. Do you think the news today has come straight from the scandal rag? All sensationalism all the time. The parting shots from this piece put me in mind of the highly polished structure of Crimes of Paris from Blood and Chocolate. After the exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, comes the denouement, the ending, life after the town where time stood still. The lament of wishing they were still there, still together in a place they have had all the time in the world. Dig it. Again, this has been a slow drag with The Town Where Time Stood Still from 1995's Rykodisc reissue of Punch the Clock. In a lot of ways, this piece is pure nonsense, just a great exercise of seeing how many metaphors can jump up and hold on tight. Then again, it can also feel like a highly structured screenplay, one with a few avant-garde jump cuts thrown in here and there for fun. However you want to look at it, it'll always be a lovely little orphaned piece that will always find a home in my heart. And that's it for today's slow drag, my friend. Thank you for listening. You can find me on social media and all the usual places. Just search for my name, Remedy Robinson, or the name of my podcast, Slow Drag with Remedy. Also, please visit slowdragwithremedy.com for companion blogs, transcripts, and other useful information. And as always, thank you for helping to get the word out about this little passion project. Truly, it means the world. So, until next time, adieu, my little ballyhoo. Slow drag with Remedy.